Alright guys, so as many of you might have seen from my previous videos, recently I have hit what it might be one of my final milestones within this game. I have finally obtained a bit over 1 million tokens, and you know, despite it might look like a lot, and don't get me wrong, these are a lot of tokens, the truth is that in order to fulfill their goals, these tokens won't last as much as you might expect. So with nothing else to add, let me explain on today's video. Well, I know that if most of you guys had these tokens, you will likely save them up and spend on specific cards in order to get them to last the longest. And honestly, that's a great approach. However, there is a small obstacle. I don't really think that by doing so, you will have ended up wasting far more tokens than by doing what I'm planning, which is something that I have got the chance to build thousands upon thousands of tokens through the last 16 months. And my plan is simple. The main goal was to log and max as many cards as I could, even those which I'm skipped in the past, and then the second phase would begin. Building a huge as possible tokens stockpile in order to keep maxing cards in the future. My initial plan was to reach 500,000 tokens, but now and looking backwards, I have to admit that 500,000 tokens wouldn't have lasted as much as I thought they would. But why? How fast am I planning to spend these tokens in the future? Okay, so here's the math. I calculated that if you begin with all the cards maxed out, you will have to spend an average of 50,000 tokens every season, this is every 28 days more or less, in order to max all the new cards that might arrive, excluding of course the Drive Syndicate cards, which I already said I'm not really planning to max after golding out my Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute. So starting from these 50,000 tokens per season, I will be able to keep maxing all the new cards that arrive from now all the way up to December 2027, basically 2 years from now. But this is a grand total of 1.2 million tokens in total, so let me explain. If you get the Legends Pass, which I'm planning to, as well as the time limited events pass from time to time, and some small but interesting offers like, let's say, the Unite Fund, which now has a second level and allows me to get 15,000 tokens in total by like 30 bucks, which is not really bad if it's true that it's an amount worth considering before being spent on the game, you can get between 140 and 160,000 extra tokens just for playing the game throughout an entire year. So assuming I keep spending in the Legends Pass as well as some offers, to the 1 million tokens I have right now, you should add between 200 and 300,000 potential tokens I could still grab just for playing the game on these upcoming 2 years. So as I said, in general, I have 1.2 million tokens available to be spent through the next 2 years, a time during which I will be maxing every single new card that arrives either through Grand Prix or special events. Those new cards that I will unlock will be already maxed out in the event that they are required once they were already introduced into the game, so all what I should do will be to just max the main special event cards on every single special event instead of spending on the multipacks, where I can guarantee you guys I will have spent way more in order to max out all the cards I could need in order to complete a special event. And that's basically my plan for the next 2 years. Basically, all these tokens won't last me forever, but hopefully they will provide me with all what I need to keep making content about this game for the next 2 years, which is quite nice because all the money I will save up by not spending anything on bundles could be spent into locking the Drive Syndicate cards at the bare minimum requirements. So despite that the good max Drive Syndicate cards era will be a thing of the past, I'm confident to be able to still unlock whatever Gameloft brings next with a significantly smaller amount of money. Hopefully on the next Drive Syndicate 10, the Koenigsegg CC850 will be required, and that will be my chance to lock whatever Drive Syndicate cards arrives without having to, spend on any Koenigsegg bundles, for example. So owning a 5-star Koenigsegg CC850 will be extremely helpful on its own. The truth is that I have absolutely no idea of what might be Gameloft plans for the next Drive Syndicate, since they are perfectly capable of releasing a top speed oriented card for the 3rd consecutive time, and well, that wouldn't be useful for me since I have the Jesko Absolute and level 16 for a reason. You know, if I have to place my bets, I will definitely go and say that the next Drive Syndicate card without having any kind of clue yet is the Rymak Nevera Air, which could be a classic multiplayer oriented card, just like the Rymak Nevera back when it was released through its Drive Syndicate several years ago. I don't even know if the Rymak Nevera Air will arrive, but I just have the heart felt that it could be the next Drive Syndicate card for whatever reason. Basically because I don't feel like the Bugatti Tourbillon will be something different than the Bugatti Mistral has been, basically a good card to be released through a special event, but that's it. So yeah, I want to dream, and who knows, I might be right, but as I say, there is absolutely zero information about what might be this year. Winter Drive Syndicate main car as for now, so we can only wait and see. Honestly, it would be really cool now that I think about it, but since I could only unlock the next Drive Syndicate cars at 3 stars, and we know that doesn't deliver the most ideal performance at 3 stars, it will certainly be a challenge to use the Nevera Air if it ever arrives at 3 stars only. Talking about the new cars, the McLaren W1 was announced recently and Ferrari introduced a new car as well, so despite Gameloft has more or less ready the whole list of cars that will appear through the next year, there could always be some surprises, you know? But now it's your turn, because despite I say that I know that many of you will save up the entire million tokens if you have it, the truth is that some of you guys might have some different plans for them, so please let me know in the comment section and let's debate about which will be the best approach in order to get the most out of all these tokens, because you know, I might change my plans if I see a better way to act. Of course, make sure to drop your like, subscribe, and I will see you really soon as usual with much more asphalt content. Goodbye guys.
All the way to bottom, but I've never seen it all. It can all toss away, don't get attached to the current spins, no flurries. The rhythm won't worry. If you fall behind, I'll be humming till you hurry. All the way to bottom, but I've never seen it all. It can all toss away, don't get attached to the current spins, no flurries. The rhythm won't worry. If you fall behind, I'll be humming till you hurry.